healthcare.gov is not secure today. And nothing's really changed since the November 19th testimony. In fact, from our November 19th testimony, it's even worse. Additional security researchers have come into play, providing additional research, additional findings that we can definitely tell that the website is not getting any better. As an attacker, if I had access to the healthcare.gov infrastructure, it has direct integration into the IRS, DHS, as well as third-party providers as well for credit checks. If I have access to those government agencies, I now can complete an entire online profile of an individual, everything that they do, and their entire online presence. And this isn't just healthcare.gov that alone.
David Kennedy, independent cyber security expert, testifying today up on Capitol Hill. He testified back when the website launched, healthcare.gov, said there were at least 20 vulnerabilities in that website back then. Now, as you heard, he says it hasn't gotten any better. Democrats on the committee say this is all about politics.
If we are truly interested in hacking and identity theft, we should have representatives of the largest retail institutions in the country here to discuss the challenges they face in protecting people's information. Instead, it appears that the majority has allowed the committee to become a tool of a political messaging to a degree.
Okay, what about all of this? Let's bring in our panel. Judge Andrew Napolitano, Fox News senior judicial analyst. A.B. Stoddard, associate editor of The Hill, and syndicated columnist Charles Krauthammer. Charles.
Well, to hear Representative Johnson, you would think that these are scare tactics, which generally means being afraid or pretending to be afraid of something, which isn't a problem. This is a huge problem. And her bringing up Target makes precisely the argument she doesn't want to make. Target is in deep trouble precisely because of a security breach. And according to the experts, I mean, I'm not an expert, but I go by what they have told us who've looked into this. This system, which is open to everyone, millions apparently have used it, is a gateway to IRS, DHS, other agencies. And if that is not working in terms of security, then it's a disaster waiting to happen. You know, she says this is an attempt by Republicans' opponents to bring down Obamacare. Well, if there are problems of this magnitude, perhaps it ought to be brought down. Number one, it's got adverse selection. It's financially unstable. Second, as we heard earlier in the show, there's no connection in the back room still between the healthcare.gov and the insurers. And lastly, we have no idea who actually is enrolled 100 days in. Add on to that lack of security, you've got a problem.
By the way, on the Target situation, there will be committee hearings on that up on Capitol Hill. And the Wall Street Journal is reporting just now, just crossing, that some of the code, the malicious computer code used in the effort to hack into Target and get those credit card numbers was apparently written in Russian. Just crossing right now.
How's that reset working out, Secretary Clinton?
Okay, A.B., what about all this?
Well, Charles is exactly right. The Target breach is the point. If the Target breach hadn't happened and the administration was trying to convince the young and healthy and internet-savvy people who've yet to enroll that it was safe to come on board and sort of, you know, campaign about how well the website was working, it is in their best interest to say that security is their top concern in light of the Target breach and other hackings that consumers are learning about and how vulnerable they are to them. It is the very reason that they need to be saying security is our top concern, working over, you know, around the clock to assure that anyone who comes on the site has their information protected and their security guaranteed. It's not at this point, insecure is like a little bit pregnant. Anytime you have an expert like that saying it's a little bit insecure, it's not 100% secure.
Well, he's not just saying a little bit.
Right, he's also not saying you won't reach the back end and even pay an insurer, or you won't be able to navigate this part or that or get something into a shopping cart. He's saying your computer, if you're on healthcare.gov, this is a dangerous process and your computer will be targeted and attacked.
Well, in part because he says you can upload malicious code and then go after specific people who have put their names and information on that site and then possibly even control their computers. And that's how it works.
So this is something we all agree on. That expert, whose last name is Kennedy, has stated nothing new, and basically everything that he stated, the Department of Health and Human Services has reluctantly conceded, has reluctantly admitted to. This is an absolute disaster. There's no security at all.
Well,
so it makes
CMS
one
is
wonder.
pushing back, Judge. They say that they do tests all the time, that they haven't had anybody who has experienced anything, taking their information as of yet. They don't have an aggrieved party.
Right. They don't have an aggrieved party. They don't have somebody who's aware of the fact that his information is vulnerable. It makes you wonder, if you file your IRS taxes electronically, are they vulnerable? Look, this is an administration that doesn't care about the exposure of private information to government officials and to strangers. It doesn't care how much the NSA gathers. It doesn't care if these computers work. This is not what we pay the government to do. We pay the government to protect our freedom and to keep us safe. In this instance, it's doing neither.
What about what Britt said while I have you here? That, the defense is there isn't a hack, there isn't an aggrieved party in this case. In contrast to the NSA, that's just getting a lot of coverage, and it's the same thing,
yes,
in that there is not an aggrieved party in that case.
Because that's the insidious nature of this. You can be harmed without even knowing it. Because if the government doesn't use the private information it has against you, it doesn't use it against you, or if a thief, if a hacker doesn't actually take money from one of your accounts, you'll never know how vulnerable you are. You don't know of your vulnerability until you actually perceive the harm.
Charles.
There's a difference between NSA and Obamacare. The NSA system has been there putting together all the metadata for years and years and years,
yes,
all the way back into the Bush administration. Trillions of bits of information. There's not a single instance reported, not a single one in all of these years of individual harm. Obamacare has been around working for what, a month and a half? So there is no comparison. Let's see what happens with Obamacare. The administration is intent on getting this rolled out, embedded, people sort of dependent on all of these subsidies. 80% of those enrolled have subsidies in a way so it becomes unrepealable, and it will risk anything, including these open security problems, in order to achieve that. So I think that they could be headed, and we won't know until a month or 2 or 3 or 6 months or a year whether or not this openness to hacking is a serious problem. I think it probably is.
Is this a winner politically for Republicans, quickly?
Oh, yeah, because Americans are now acutely aware, because of the Neiman Marcus and Target breaches, of just how easily this happens.
Next up, the Benghazi blame game.